Well, good Monday morning, everyone. How was your Easter? I hope it was great. I hope it was great to praise and worship our risen Lord. What can be better than that? I ask you. No, very, very little. That resurrection is what gives us all hope. And honestly, I'm not ready to let Easter end. So this week, we're going to do something that we've never done in our 4 years, or actually, that was our fifth Easter, I believe. But we're not going to let it end. We're going to continue on. And so often we don't speak about these things, and that is the risen appearances of Jesus after he had conquered death. The Bible records 5 such appearances. So we're going to look at one of those every day this week. And as we do, I just encourage you to think in terms of the people's reactions as they see him and how they respond. Is that how you would respond? If we had that privilege, think of what a privilege it is. We have their eyewitness testimonies, but we don't get to be the eyewitnesses. They were. Well, the first such appearance of Jesus actually happens on Sunday, what we call Easter Sunday now. But it's not surprising that, well, in Matthew chapter 28, it says at verse 1, at dawn of the first day, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. You know, I just feel, don't you, that they just wanted to go visit and be close to where Jesus had been laid. But when they got there, you remember what they saw. The stone had been rolled back. The guards were asleep or passed out. And the tomb was empty. But they didn't yet see Jesus. They did what you and I might do. They ran to tell their friends. And you can read about it almost in every gospel, but in John chapter 20, the disciples ran back to that tomb. They couldn't believe it. The tomb is empty? No way. So they run back, and evidently Peter was a fast runner because Peter got there first, according to John 20. And he looked in, and he sees the linen strips that the body had been wrapped in there, folded up, actually. And so he and the others, and they go in, and it finally says they believed. I'm not sure, it doesn't say what they believed, but I think it's probably that Jesus had been raised from the dead, but they had no proof of that at that point. Let's start reading at verse 10. Then the disciples went back to their homes. So they left. But Mary stood outside the tomb, crying. And as she wept, she bent over and looked into the tomb and saw 2 angels in white. And they were seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and one at the foot. And they asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." And then she turned around and saw Jesus standing there. But the Bible says she did not realize that it was Jesus yet. "Woman," he said, "why are you crying? Who is it that you're looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, and think of her reaction if you were her. Because I know sometimes I've said, well, why didn't she immediately recognize him? Well, are you looking for him? Is that even a possibility? He says, "Why are you crying?" Thinking, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you put him, and I will get him." And Jesus said to her, it only took one word, "Mary." Mary. When she heard her name, man, that's when she realized. And she said, she turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, Rabboni, which means teacher or rabbi. And Jesus said, do not hold on to me, for I have not yet returned to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am returning to my Father and your Father, and to my God and to your God. And Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, I have seen the Lord. And she told them that had said these things to her. Can you imagine? Well, there's several things here. And we read about the same event back in Matthew chapter 28. And it gives a little, let me read that paragraph too, and then let's talk about it just a little bit, about their responses. In Matthew 28, at verse 8, it says, so the woman hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. Greetings, he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. And then Jesus said the same thing that we read in the other. Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and there they will see me. But the very first appearance of Jesus was to Mary Magdalene, and the other Mary, as she's called. Wow. Can you imagine when they went and told the disciples? Jesus called them his brothers. The joy, well, it does say, so a couple things. In both accounts, it says they grasped him and grasped his feet. I'm not surprised at that, are you? The thought of losing him again, they wanted to hold on to him. And it does tell us that he had a physical human body, didn't it? Because they could grasp the physical form, the physical nature of Jesus's risen body is proved right there. But he says, don't hold on to me. I've got to go. But I will appear to everyone back in Galilee, he says. Now it does say, number one, they had great joy. They had great joy. They were afraid and yet filled with joy. I just can't imagine. It's beyond comprehension, really, for us. Think of the thing that brought you maybe the greatest joy in your life, and I don't know what that would be. I'm not sure. I got to think it through myself. But this is above that. Wow. So they had great, great joy. And I just can't imagine when they actually told them how they probably, do you think they were screaming or jumping with joy? I don't know. But it's not like just spreading some news. It's the greatest news in the history of the world. Death has been conquered. I've seen Jesus. No. And I'm sure they just have, no way. I mean, although they had already seen the empty tomb, that probably prepared them. But here's the key. It says they came, clasped his feet, and what? In verse 9. And they worshiped him. Worship him. Their worship must have been beyond whatever thing we can think of. But it tells me again, you see, Jesus is still risen today. And that is our response, joy and worship. And we did that yesterday, but we do it every week. Don't miss out on the worship and joy ever. But have in mind who we're worshiping, the risen Jesus. Hey, God bless. We're going to look at other occurrences starting tomorrow. Oh, I can't wait. See you then.
And I won't worry about tomorrow. I'm trying